morning, everybody. The mayor, John Flynn, and I are back again. How you doing today?
Oh, great. It's great to be here, as always.
Isn't this the first day of spring? I think it is, either today or tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. It's March 20, so.
Do you think the weather knows that? Huh?
Not so sure. I think the weather does whatever it likes.
I think you're right. But anyway, it's a nice thought. So there's beautiful trees out there. The redbeds are gorgeous this time of year, etc. So anyway, let's get right to it, if you don't mind. I know you're pretty proud about the results of an election item.
Yeah, we were really happy. The election on March 5, the police $1.5 mil pension passed pretty easily. And that was a big plus. It's just great the way our citizens support the police in Bella Vista. And that's going to really help us out financially with the pension and whatnot. So it's just a small amount, just $0.5 mil. It's $20 a year for the average resident. But, whenever you have a tax issue on the ballot, it's a big deal if you can get a positive response. So we felt good about that.
So I know we've talked about it practically every time, but remind us when that kicks in and when does that start?
Oh, well, that's a good point. Yeah, the citizens, of course, voted for the $1.5 mil increase. So now, in late October every year, the city council communicates with the county what the millage will be, and what we'll communicate is that it will be increased by $1.5 mil from what it was before, and then the county takes that, and that applies actually to 2024 taxes. But 2024 property taxes aren't due until October of 2025.
Okay.
Now, some people pay it through their mortgage, so they don't really see exactly when it's due. It's so much every month. But if your house is paid off, you get a bill, and it's due actually in October 2025. So that's about a year and a half from now, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, just in case anybody was curious about how that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's time for you to do your State of the City.
Yeah, on Monday, March 25, I'll be giving the State of the City report. It's actually a legal requirement every year that you give a State of the City, and it doesn't really specify so much anything in particular you have to say, but we usually talk about the financial condition of the city, and also some of the various departments usually kind of focus in on what happened in 2023. And of course, that was my first year as mayor, and a lot actually happened in 2023. And we'll be going over all that in the report. So that's kind of nice because it gives you a bookmark to kind of see what you've done and what you still have out in front of you. There's always things happening. So
that will be at the City Council meeting.
Yeah, and it's Monday, the 25th, and it's at 6 p.m.
That's a new time now, folks, because it used to be 6:30.
Yeah, and it's over in the courtroom in the Public Safety Building on Forest Hills Boulevard.
And it's streamed.
Yeah.
So later on, if somebody wants to tune in and see.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the streaming is you can watch it live, but also it's on there on YouTube after the fact if you're busy or maybe you want to watch it later on.
Yeah.
So, and same thing as with the Planning Commission meetings. So that's why this Bella Vista Community TV is such a plus for us, all the things people can do. Not to mention some of the other shows you have, not to plug your shows, but it's amazing how much you can learn watching these different people, talk about there's just a lot going on that you don't necessarily know about,
Well, John, Mayor Flynn, it is really, we're so grateful for you to say that because we're 100% volunteer, so that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. We actually have some great organizations in this city that are 100% volunteer. The History Museum's an example of that.
Yep.
Community TV is, and
Courtesy
some of the
van.
clubs. Yeah. It's pretty impressive, some of the things people are able to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so year-end financials for 23.
Yeah, that's also, they're going to be completed on Monday, March 25. And it's, you know, we have financials every month that kind of tells us how we're doing as we go along. But, you know, from the auditor's point of view, the only real legal official financials are the year-end ones. They're the
That's
only
true.
ones that count.
That's right.
So, of course, it won't be audited yet. They're just starting the audit now. But we release the financials, let the citizens know how we're doing. And, you know, it's really, the way the law is set up in Arkansas, I think, is very good. It's designed to protect the citizens. You know, you have to have a budget. And there's constraints on spending. You can't spend more than you take in, plus whatever reserve you have. So that's a good thing, because, you know, there's a lot of small cities in Arkansas that maybe their leadership's not so sophisticated, and you don't want to get in, you know, there's a danger you could get in over your head and rack up all kinds of debt and spend way more money than you have and whatnot. That wouldn't be good. So, you know, after, you know, I was always in the private sector, and then when I got on city council and started doing the public, there's a lot of special rules about the public financing, and it's all designed to protect things so they don't get too far out of hand. So you see most of those rules and you think, oh, that's a good idea. I can see why they passed that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, absolutely.
But it's kind of good to, you know, look at the year-end financials. You can see kind of what your strengths and weaknesses are, and plan ahead on your. Obviously, you have a budget for the next year already in place, but kind of plan ahead for things in the future. So.
And I know you have a budget and all of that, but I also know that, and I don't know what the percentage is or the rule or whatever, but for instance, if, let's say, the fire chief comes to you and he needs to buy X, and it's in the budget, but it's certain percentage over, he has to come back, right? And get the extra funds.
Yeah, get council to agree to it.
Yes,
so, yeah.
yes. Is there a percentage, or is it just a, like, if it's 10% over, or?
No, if it's over
If it's over $1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
But that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So the
Yeah.
public knows what's going on.
Yeah, and it kind of keeps people on their toes. You know, the police and fire and different departments have to figure out ahead of time, you know, what things are going to cost and where the money's going to come from and that sort of thing. So.
Well, that's good, because if you own it and you had to ask for it, you're much more conservative with your funding request. And you know what? I think the city, your folks, the whole team does a good job of trying to find the best solution rather than just saying, hey, I need a new whatever.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's reuse, sometimes you can sell some of that old equipment. And anyway, I think from what I've seen, they do a great job of finding the best solution.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that's kind of encouraging from a management point of view when you're managing the city is that people will come up with new ideas and new ways to do things that are clearly an improvement. So you feel like, hey, we're having continuous improvement. You know, we're figuring out a way to do things better than we did last year and the year before that. And you know, a lot of it is just the people working for you come up with the innovations because they're closer to it and they understand, you know, kind of all the details of their particular area. So it's encouraging when you see that sort of thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. All right, now, big announcement.
Yeah, we made the local news and statewide news. The Walton-related entity, Blue Crane, had bought Sugar Creek Center and some surrounding land there. And, you know, I think people have been aware that Walton's had bought various different parcels of land when they became available over the last few years. So you could tell they were kind of taking more of an interest in Bella Vista. And so I think it created a certain amount of excitement. Most of the feedback I got was positive about the Waltons getting involved. And I think it's going to have a tendency they're going to have a little more tendency to be proactive and do things on the commercial side. You know, everybody feels that we need a little more commercial, a little more of a tax base than we have.
Yes.
So I think they'll probably help with that. But, you know, they met with me ahead of time, and they tell me generally what their thoughts and plans are, and asked me to keep it confidential.
Of course.
So I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But they really emphasize working with you, and hey, we don't want to jam things down your throat, and being cooperative. They're actually a very encouraging group to work with from that point of view. I feel like just seeing the other things they've done in Northwest Arkansas, that they're very responsible. You know, they think about the environment, and which people in Bella Vista like and are very conscious of, because we have such nice outdoors and you know, the trees and lakes and streams and that kind of thing. And you know, I've said for a number of years, if somebody owned a bunch of vacant land in Bella Vista and I had no idea what they were going to do with it, I can't think of anybody I'd rather it be than the Waltons, just because they, you know, they have been responsible, and they're not in a situation where, oh, I got to make every last buck.
No.
You know what I mean? So,
No.
I mean, they want to be profitable and function in a rational way, but they're not going to cut every corner just to make $1. You know, they want to do things right and do what's good for the environment and that kind of thing. So I have a good feeling about it from that point of view.
Yeah, me too. And you're right. They do quality work. They're going to make it really functional and something to be proud of. But then they kind of give it back. I mean, it becomes part of the city. It's not something that they control, because when they start building, they still got to go through the city planning and, you know, all of that, just like anybody else does, correct?
Yeah.
Even the city has to go through that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, the Community Development Services Department has the planning department, and those folks have been really busy the last few years because of the growth. You know, we've been building about 500 houses a year, and sometimes it's a challenge with our topography and whatnot. And it makes a challenge for the Streets Committee, because people build, or the Street Department, people build houses on streets that aren't paved yet and things like that. You know, as the area gets more popular, builders are building in more and more obscure locations, I guess I would say.
Yes.
So keeps everybody on their toes. And, you know, with our topography, the drainage issues and, you know, stormwater runoff, things like that, you have to do a lot of study, even when you're just building houses, let alone commercial type things. So it keeps everybody really busy.
You know, I wanted to dispel a little bit of a rumor, if I could, have you help me out here. A lot of people think, oh, you know, all that land that they bought is the old golf course. No, it is not. The POA has not sold anything. We cannot. It is, nothing has changed there. A lot of this property is where the old theater used to be, where Allen's is. And by the way, they took care of Allen's. They gave them a 10-year lease. So everybody can calm down. Allen's is not going anywhere. But in all seriousness, that's pretty much a standard here in Bella Vista. But it's behind that, behind the Sugar Creek, and then all of that, that'll be great. But where they've been building up the rock in the back.
Yeah.
So everybody's wondering, what is all that rock back behind there? It's all smoothed out now, and I think they're trying to fool the floodplain, right?
Yeah, they've gotten, I think Cooper was doing that to get some of that land out of the floodplain.
Yes.
There's still some land by the creek that's in the
Yes.
floodplain, but you just don't build there, is the answer to that. But yeah, they were able to get some rock from when they put the freeway through. You know, there was a lot of rock available, and they're trying to raise the level there for part of the property. And that is property that we had changed to be zone commercial, I think within the last year.
Yes.
And, one of the interesting things I found, you learn things when you're mayor or when you're on city council. If you have property and there's no houses around, people don't mind if it's zone commercial.
Yes.
If it's next to somebody's house and people show up at the meeting and say, hey, I don't want you to rezone that, right? So,
That's exactly right.
and that kind of went through without anybody really complaining about it. So.
Well, like you said, I think it's going to be exciting because this gives us some opportunity for some businesses, and it does help the tax base, and it does help Bella Vista.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what 24, 25 is going to be.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about an ordinance that we are trying to get through to control lighting, a lighting ordinance.
Yeah, we have a lighting ordinance proposed, and that is Craig Honschel's a guy on council's been real active on that, and Taylor Robertson from the planning department, and it is focused on commercial development. They noticed in some other cities, particularly up in Jane, there was some lighting that was really
it was in your face.
yeah, right in your eyes kind of thing, even blinding you when you're driving. And there's ways to do lighting where it's shielded and facing downward and whatnot. And most cities around us already had a lighting ordinance, the larger ones. And we realized we needed one of those, and so that's on the agenda for City Council to pass that. And I noticed Fries and Nichols, who's doing the big study that's on code reform and whatnot, they were very interested in the lighting issue, and they're going to do something on that. So I think what we're passing now is almost like a holding piece to have something in place. It's not like Fries and Nichols might do something a little more elaborate.
Well, yeah, it's just like anything else. You have some basis to go by, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of thought that goes into it where we don't over-govern ourselves and make it hard on the planning folks and people that are trying to do things. You know what? I think we need to take a quick break, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
We'll be back
good.
in a few minutes. Okay, we're back. Mayor Flynn, another big area that's not easy for the Planning Commission or City Council or our residents is the issue over driveway grades.
Yeah, that's been a significant issue, and we had passed an ordinance a couple years ago that would allow driveway grades up to 12%, and perhaps get an extension from the planning staff up to 14%. And we're finding that might be just a little bit too strict. As you know, the Planning Commission looked at it, and there's two different issues that we're concerned about. One is having the first part of the driveway where people could get on the driveway and get off the street, because when you go to do snow plows or that sort of thing, and it's a little icy, they wanted the driveway to at least be where people could park on their driveway overnight. And also emergency vehicles. They mentioned when emergency vehicles come, they have a place where they can park. And there's a second issue down at the end of the driveway about getting into the garage. We had one or two houses built where the drive was so steep you couldn't get in the garage.
Yeah.
So we're kind of wrestling with those at City Council right now, but Planning Commission had recommended us to loosen up the guidelines a little bit. And I think we'd like to come up with something that works, that protects people, but makes it a little bit easier on the builders. We want to be cooperative with the builders. And you know, what happened is our topography is so different here. And, you know, we picked up some percentages to use from other cities, but they might be a lot flatter than us. And it's a little more challenging in Bella Vista, like a lot of things. It makes it pretty, but it can be challenging for some things. So that's what we're working on. I think we'll get something done on that in the near future. And
you know, it was really eye-opening for me. I actually rode one day with Doug Tapp of the planning group, and you know, you can see numbers on paper.
Yeah.
But when you actually see what is a 14% grade, what is a 20?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It really helps to actually have visuals of that kind of thing.
It sure does.
And you know, and some of these driveways are really long. So I'm glad we're talking about doing something at the front, because you have an ordinance against parking on the street. You don't want to.
Yeah, overnight. Yeah.
So you don't want you want to take that into consideration. And then you're right, getting in the garage, because who wants to drag the end of their car as they're trying to get in the driveway? But you know, I'm glad at the last meeting that it was brought up that a lot of these people that own these driveways, they're not having as much trouble getting in there as we thought with the more strict ordinance that we have now. I mean, you know, vehicles are different, but now let's face it, the one that goes like this, that's a little goofy.
Yeah.
And anyway, this ordinance would apply only to any new things going on, correct?
Of course, yeah. Existing, that's a good point you made. Existing driveways will still be, you know, what they are.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Hey, I want to brag on you a minute. Could I do that?
Sure.
I loved the little post the other day of you standing out in front of one of our new art tunnels that we just put in. The city just put in that Arts Council beautiful tunnel.
Yeah.
And what were you doing out there? We are a monarch city? Is that what that's all about?
Yeah, I was reading a proclamation. We were named a Monarch City USA again this year. Is one of those things you get involved in, and if you keep going, you're renamed every year. So that has to do with folks planting plants that will attract butterflies. So trying to help the butterfly population. I know there's a number of plants that do that. One of the more well-known ones is milkweed. And I know you and some of the garden club folks know a lot about planting things and whatnot. But we have people all over town working on planting things that will attract butterflies. And so the national organization you know, sends me a proclamation each year when we're qualified. We're also a Tree City USA.
Yeah, let's talk about the tree giveaway. That's a little, let's move that one up a little further, because that goes right along with it.
Yeah, we do have Tree City, or a tree giveaway, and that is on Friday, April 12th, and it's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and it's at the shopping center on Lancashire, same place it was last year. It's where Table Bella is. Yeah, it's on 626 West Lancashire Boulevard.
And where the
CDS and ACC are both located there, yeah. So you have to go on, this year you have to go on ahead of time and sign up. We found last year, you know, we used to cause traffic jams. The line was so long, and last year they started a new system that works a lot better, where you reserve a time and then come and work quite smoothly last year, so we were pleased with that.
So you have to be a resident of Bella Vista, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is all taken care of ahead of time, or do you need to bring proof that you are? Or?
It's good to bring proof, yeah. But yeah, we don't have too much of a problem that way, really. But these trees all come from Walton Family Foundation, so you know they are very.
They're natives. They're not Bradford pears and things like that.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different choices each year, And yeah, I think it's a great thing the way they're encouraging in all of Northwest Arkansas. They're encouraging new tree plantings, and of course we're losing some with the construction, and also it's good to be able to plant new ones, right? So,
Yes,
yeah.
and the other cool thing that I really love about the city, and I think Taylor at the planning of the planners is the one that kind of got this started. But you know, the requirement now that, you know, we have to take down trees sometimes for septics. You just have to.
Yeah.
But then planting of other trees in the front yard. There's an ordinance about
Yeah.
what you plant and how you
Yeah.
landscape, so we can keep the integrity of what's important.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm very big on any environmental thing like the butterflies or trees, or, you know, I think keeping the atmosphere nice is something everybody likes, and it's a good thing to support.
That's right. Okay, so Raymond James, huh?
Yeah, we're working on getting a contract with Raymond James as our financial advisor. They were our advisor on the 1% bond that we did a few years ago for the new police facility and fire station and fire training tower. And so we're having a new contract with them that they help us figure out, you know, whether to do a loan. You can do a 5-year loan, or to do a bond, franchise fee bond. There's different options and whatnot. And so, you know, we have a significant reserve
Yes.
of funds, but a lot of times, rather than use all our funds, we'll, particularly if we get a good interest rate situation, we'll borrow some money. When we got a new fire truck a year or so ago, we actually borrowed money at a lower interest rate than we're making on our CDs. So if you can do that and preserve your funds, and those are the kind of opportunities we look for, where we can borrow a little bit of money, but we're still staying ahead. So.
Exactly, and you have all those reserves still. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that. You know, you don't want to spend down to nothingness,
Yeah.
and then have to do a loan. Loans are sometimes the best way to go.
Yeah, so.
Okay, and let's see, your donations to the city, you have some unspent
Yeah, this
funds?
just caught my eye. You know, every year we have a resolution having to do with how we handle on donations in our budget. So it's just a technicality, but it always catches your eye. The amount of money from donations we had that we're carrying into 2024 is $189,000. And I just think it's really impressive how much our citizens give. A lot of it is to the fire department, because people are so grateful for the ambulance service. You know, people, you know, we all go to work every day, and some of us are accountants, some of us are lawyers, some of us are mayors, but these guys actually go to work and save people's lives.
Yes.
So a lot of times people are pretty grateful if the ambulances come and save their life. And so they get donations. The library gets very significant donations, and police get some as well. But it just gives you a good feeling that the citizens feel so positive about the city that they would do that.
Yes.
So I'm just always surprised at the amount it is, and, you know, it's helpful.
Absolutely. Litter awareness.
Yeah, that's a new thing. You know, Tim Pachar, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Oh, I know.
Came to our city council meeting and talked about this, and I thought that was a good thing to bring up. You know, the 6 in 60 litter is done every year, and that's where they do 6 miles on Highway 71 in an hour or so. They get hundreds of people out there, and that's going to be March 30 at 10 a.m. But he had the idea of making April Litter Awareness Month, so I'm going to read a proclamation, and we're doing a lot of special things that month. The police are going to work a little harder on, you know, checking for violations, and local businesses can sign up to voluntarily do the property in front of their own location, and we'll give them a proclamation for that. And we've been working with Republic. We have some volunteer organizations aside from that day that have gone out and collected litter, And we've got a thing set up with the street department where if you collect litter and put a bag out, you can call the street department, they'll come pick it up and take it to Republic.
Great.
And you just but you have to call the street department and tell them where it's at. You know, it's at such and such an address or the cross streets and whatnot. So I think we're going to really start to make an even bigger dent in the litter with all these new initiatives.
You know, Tim does a lot of things like that for the city. He really does. He's been doing that for years.
Yeah.
So thank you, Tim. You're appreciated very much, and we're glad everybody's getting on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
What is this youth council idea? What is that?
Yeah, our city clerk is real enthused about that. We're starting a Bella Vista Youth Council. It's kind of a drive statewide that the state is real encouraging of it. And what we're going to do is have some high school students, around 9 or so high school students. It's going to start next September, but we're putting an ad out for it now while school's still in session, so you know we can get people to apply. And it's like a council. They're going to meet every month and meet with a different department and go over how that department works, and they can make suggestions about maybe things they think the city perhaps could do that are youth-oriented. We thought it'd be it's a good educational thing and get kids involved in civics. And also they have a little different perspective and might be able to give us some good ideas about, you know, things we might consider doing.
And they can grow up and be really experienced citizens by that time. You know,
Yeah.
I love the idea that on that that transportation thing you just did, that you've got some youth.
Yeah.
Got 2 younger people.
Yeah, the new transportation board. Actually, I have to give Justin Culpepper, our trails manager, credit. He thought of that, to have a couple youth on the board, and they're non-voting members, but I thought that was a great idea to get them involved. And they had impressive backgrounds. They were very involved in the trails and riding and that kind of thing. So.
Absolutely. We're about out of time, but I think we've got 2 other announcements we haven't talked about. We got Artist of the Month, the quarterly thing. It's actually Artist of the Quarter thing this Thursday night.
Yes, Thursday, March 21, it's at 5 p.m. at Bella Vista Country Club. And then it happens we have a Newcomers meeting coming up, and that's Saturday, March 23 at the Country Club. That's at 10 a.m. That usually gets, I'd say 50 to 70 people. It's very popular, and it's a great way if you're new in the area to learn about it. There's so much to know about Bella Vista between the POA and the city, and the ACC comes, and it's been very popular. People really like it. What I love about that is it's a grassroots thing. You know, regular citizens just decide to do that.
Yes.
Then they start inviting the mayor and the head of the POA to come speak. But
yes,
it's pretty impressive how they got that built up.
Well, yeah, and the TV station records that now too, so people can. So anyway, I'm getting Mr. Patrick over here telling me to round it up. So that's what we're going to do. Thank you, as always. City Council meeting Monday night. Be there or be square.
Yeah, Monday at 6 p.m.
And I look forward to next month, because this is how I keep up on what's going on. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I had a great time as usual.
Okay. See you next month, folks.